here's some information for you if you don't already know. Harbor Freight stores do not carry any parts for the Predator mulcher, chipper, shredder, as they don't carry parts for a lot of their products. Typically you have to call their 800 number and order the parts, and in most cases, because you're ordering a replacement part, typically don't have to pay for shipping. But something good to know, and hopefully you're not in my situation where you need new tires, and I don't necessarily have to have them right now. I just wanted to replace them because they are in bad shape, and I wanted them replaced before I started using the chipper again. But the bad part is it takes 12 to 16 weeks to get these tires, the specific tires. Best bet is to find a like tire, which is what I did in my case, and I'm sharing the information so that others can replace their tires as well. But yeah, 12 to 16 weeks to get these tires in, because they are coming from China. I did go into Harbor Freight in Asheville, North Carolina, and explained to them that I already knew I couldn't get these specific tires because they had to be ordered. I asked them if they happened to know of the tires that they have, do they have one that could be used on the Predator chipper shredder. And the guy came back and handed me a complete tire that was the size of this rim and said, this is the one for the Predator chipper shredder. And when I had that tire and that tube in my hand, and I put them next to each other, and I was like, this is not the tire. And he goes, well, how old is your chipper shredder? And I said, 2.5 years old. And he said, well, they probably modified the Predator chipper shredder since I bought one. And I was like, okay. And he actually took me over to their display model. They didn't have any in stock except the display model, and it had these tires that size on the Predator chipper shredder. It was the whole thing, tube, tire, rim, all together was that size, and it was on there on both sides. So the guy had me convinced that they did modify it, and then today I actually called the 800 number for Harbor Freight, spoke to them and asked them whether they had modified it, and the lady could not find anything on record that said that they've changed anything on this chipper shredder. They do have this, she did say that they do have the exact same chipper shredder with a different name on it, and she also checked that information because I think it's a completely different color as well, but she checked that information and there was no change to that brand as well. So what I think happened is they ended up putting tires on it that didn't go to it, and then the employees are convinced that that's what they should be. But yeah, according to their main office, they haven't modified it. It's all the parts are still the same today as they were 2.5 years ago. All right, if you've seen any of my previous videos, you would know that I purchased this Predator chipper mulcher about 2 years ago. It's definitely paid for itself. Unfortunately, the tires have gotten to a point where they are rotted out and not serving their purpose. So this left side one here, I fixed or patched the inner tube, and then it just went flat again. Something you will find out is that you can't just go to Harbor Freight and say, because this is a Harbor Freight product, you can't just go to Harbor Freight and say, I need a tire or tires for the 6.5 horsepower, 212cc Predator chipper shredder tires, because they don't have them in stock. So you have to call the 1-800 number to order the tires. In the diagram, it only points to the tire itself. There is no separate arrows pointing to the inner tube or the rim. So you would assume that since it's only pointing to the rubber tire portion, that it would include the rim and the inner tube. You would assume that you could just go into the Harbor Freight store and get a like tire. But let me back up a second, because there is, on the rim, there is no information whatsoever about the rim itself. On the inner tube, the only thing that's on it is the size. It doesn't say who made it. On the actual tire, other than saying it's made in China, there is no product name. So you can't just look up the product name and say tire Goodyear size number, I think it's 410 350-6 is the size. You can't just look that up. If you go into Harbor Freight, I mean, they do have some inner tubes, but there weren't many. I don't know if that's common everywhere. Can't just find tires by themselves. Harbor Freight, this is probably the most common thing that you'll find, is the rim, the inner tube, and the tire all together. I decided I didn't want to order it online, so I went into Harbor Freight and took this and this in, because these are the two main things that I need. And there is a slight difference between the inner tube and the tire itself. This is a 4, just to be very specific, this is a 4.00/350-6. That's the inner tube. And then the tire is a 410-350-6. So there is a slight difference between these two. And just because I didn't want to, just assume that the inner tube would be the same as the tire, I took both of these in. I didn't take the rim. But when I got into Harbor Freight, the majority of what they sell, as I said already, is they sell the tire, inner tube, and rim all together. And in this case, I didn't see anything specific for this tire, inner tube, and rim, so I tried to find something that was close. So I found this one, which is a 410-350-6, and it comes with all these extra pieces. So I bought these tires thinking, they're close, they'll work. Unfortunately, I didn't bring the rim, because I thought I would just be replacing the tire and the inner tube, which is what I needed, not necessarily the rim. And if you look at this rim here, it sticks out quite a bit. There's an offset. So this side, which is to the inside of the chipper shredder. So in this case, it would be just like this. And it would go on like this, because this portion right here is where that brake pad goes that locks it in place when you're using it. There's an offset here. This is a 1/2 inch out, and this is a 1/2 inch in. But what I didn't realize, since I didn't have the rim, is that these tires don't have, there's no extension. So I'm guessing at this point that I would not be able to use the brakes, because this piece right here would be removed, this piece would put in, or this piece would be put in. But what it doesn't do is extend this out so that you can use the brakes. So these are not the tires that I need. I could have just took the whole tire in, but the reason why I separated the inner tube and the tire from the rim is because what I needed was the tire and the inner tube. But in the process of removing the rim, and this is how fragile this metal is. I used a plastic panel removing tool to remove the tire from this rim. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but this rim is completely dented up from a plastic trim tool. Maybe what I can do is take the dents out of this rim and replace this rim, because I can't fix the offset that this rim doesn't have. I can't make it this rim. So I'll probably just fix this rim up, take this rim off, put this rim on it, and call it a day. So this piece right here would be the correct piece for putting on the rod down here. So I would have to put one of these on the back side and the front side, and there are two of these that I can use. But the issue is, because there's no offset, this is not sticking out. If I were to put this on here, this lever for the brake would be sitting inside the rim and on the tire, and I wouldn't really have any brakes. I'm not too concerned about the brakes, but it just wouldn't function properly. So I am going to remove these rims, put the old rims on, even though I beat them up. I'm going to put the old rims on. You can see when I take the old rim and put it up against the new rim, they're the same exact size. The only difference is this offset that allows for the braking mechanism to sit on here, which this one doesn't have. So it's not going to make much difference. I'll do the repair on the rim here. If it was just a tubeless tire, then it might be an issue with the warpage of the rim. But since it is a tubed tire, it won't matter very much. So I'll try to straighten this out. It's not going to be perfect, but I am going to go that route. These tires, I bought 2 of them. They are 24 bucks a piece, or $24 a piece. They are made by Hallmaster, and they're a 12-inch replacement tire with a 6-inch wheel, and the part number is 56182. Just for additional information, it does say that it includes a 1-inch, 5/8 inch, and 3/4 inch bushing, 300-pound load capacity, and it's a 2-ply rated tire. All right, back in business. Got the new tire with inner tube on the old rim, and got washer on there, the cotter pin. No interference with the chute right here, and the brake functions as it is supposed to. So now all I gotta do is change the other one out. This is the other tire that I'm changing out, and the inner tube in it's still good, but it's, you can see with air in the tire how cracked it is. Got my second tire done, ready to be put back on. I can't recall whether I mentioned this previously or not, but just so you're aware, when you do if you order the exact same tire that came with the Predator chipper shredder, I think it's number 17 in the diagram, part number 17112, I believe. The tire, the inner tube, and the rim are all the same part number. And that's just so you know, because you can't just order a rim, or you can't just order a tube, or you can't just order a tire. It all comes as one. Now, just need to put this tire on and be done with it. You definitely want to make sure that you put the valve stem on the opposite side of the offset for the brake. I guess you could have it there to the inside, but just to make it easier, it's better to have the valve stem to the outside. That's it. Back in business. 2 brand new tires. I would have preferred that didn't have to change the rims out, but it all worked out in the end.